Welcome to the Faith and Mental Health Podcast, where two worlds collide. I am your host, DeAndrea Bolden. Join myself and others as we have relevant, engaging conversation on a variety of topics that are related to faith and mental health. So be sure to tune in weekly and also to subscribe. Did you know that you can listen to this podcast on all major podcast platforms, such as Apple, Google, and even Stitcher? You can even catch this podcast on my YouTube channel. As a listener, please know that we want to hear from you, and we hope that you would reach out with feedback, suggestions, and even ideas for guests and topics that you would like for us to include. Oh, do you mind helping me out by simply sharing this podcast with others? Thank you, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. God bless. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, DeAndrea Bolden, and today my guest is Veonne Anderson, and we are going to be discussing, our topic this week is help. My divorce is killing me. And so listen, if you're going through a divorce, if you've been through a divorce, maybe even you could be somebody listening could even be contemplating a divorce. This definitely is something you want to take a moment and listen to. And so I'm going to go ahead and yield the floor to Veonne and let her introduce herself to the listeners. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about you.
Awesome. First off, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here and share this platform with you. So my name is Veonne Anderson. I am an author, a publisher, and web designer, and I specialize in bringing people into online platforms so that they can have an influence in this world. Outside of that, I also work with NASA Space Apps. And I help children get connected with STEM careers. So I love positioning people for purpose. That's just who I am. And I'm really happy to be able to talk about this topic of divorce. For me, it was definitely a whole process, a supernatural one at that, for me to be able to heal the way that I did. And I just want to be able to give people hope, because it's such a sensitive topic. And if I can just help someone come out of it, I know that that they can be healed and whole.
That's good. That's good. Because I definitely think this is a sensitive topic, especially in the church.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times people have been ostracized, talked about and kind of looked down on. It's funny. I even posted a status on Facebook. I said, just because your marriage failed does not mean you are a failure.
Come on.
Pick up, chin up. If you're alive, God still has purpose for you, and there's still something for you to do. And so a failed marriage does not define you. But I want to get into it because I think I've never been divorced. I'm currently married. I've been married over 10 years now.
Okay.
But I do notice some things. And I don't even know if me and you talked about it. But one thing I begin to notice when people go through divorce, especially women, they immediately change their appearance. They'll shave their hair off, or they'll dye it, or they'll get a new wig, or they go for a revenge body and all this stuff. And so let's really talk about let's talk about your healing, but let's talk about what is happening, because I want this to help somebody, because I think a lot of times people think they're the only one, but it's like, no, other people have gone through it too. And it's like, if other people can go through it, you can make it through too. But for some people, it literally, it be killing them. I mean, they go through, depression. Some people do the opposite, instead of fixing themselves up, other people, their appearance declines.
Yeah.
Hygiene declines, they get, very down and out, emotionally.
Yeah.
And some people I've seen where they never really bounce back from it quite like you would think they would. So let's talk about it. Let's talk a little bit about your journey, and let's talk about this topic. Help, my divorce is killing me.
Yes. That, first off, that revenge body was so good. I tried revenge body. This didn't work. So
I'll be revenge snacking. I'll be like,
I tried it. Like my thing is, for me, in my marriage, I was an emotional eater. Okay. So when I first got married and we were going through some financial hardships, I was eating, even though before I got married, I just lost like over 50 pounds because I finally reached my weight loss goal. Then when I was starting to date my then, boyfriend, which became my husband, I ended up gaining it all back. And then I'm emotionally eating because we're in this financial deficit. I actually saved myself for marriage. So that's going to be in this conversation
Oh,
as well.
wow. Okay.
So yeah, I tried the revenge body thing, but being that I was an emotional eater, um, we also just need to get to the root of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do that. But yes, people definitely changed their image. I tried the wig thing. I was trying to, do this outer experience. I pierced my nose. I did it. I did it. And I think for me, it was more so just trying to regain time that I felt was lost. Because
Okay.
because I felt like I kind of grew up sheltered in a way,
Okay.
especially saving myself for marriage. I felt like I played it safe, and playing it safe did not pay off for me. So
Okay.
then I'm like, okay, let me just live my life the way I want to. So I believe that's why people get to that place of trying to do the revenge bodies and piercings, tattoos, all of that. I think that's why they do it, because they're trying to make up for lost time.
Okay, because I always wondered the thought process behind that, and I've seen a lot of people go through that. Like some will like just shave their head. I know. I think Tamar Braxton, she made head shaving popular. Everybody wanted to
Yeah.
shave their hair, and so I'm just yeah. I've always wondered what the thought process was behind that. So I thank you for sharing that. That it's more of like, hey, I'm doing me, and I'm making up for lost time. That
Yeah.
that I guess feeling like the time was wasted in that
Yeah.
relationship because it didn't last.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the other things you were going through mentally and emotionally as you were kind of going through the process and going towards your healing?
Well, I would say the things that I really dealt with more than anything was rejection and regret. Because I dealt with a lot of rejection in my marriage, it transferred into the process of my separation. And I kept replaying the memories of things that were said that made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Then I went through the process of trying to talk to someone from high school, this guy from high school, because I regretted not marrying him, and he gave me attention. And mind you, I went to school for ministry. I knew the word of God, but there was a void in me that I was trying to fill. So I began to talk to this guy. And I remember in my marriage, my husband said that he didn't enjoy kissing me, which is why he pulled away from our kiss at the altar. And that right there hurt me the most in my marriage, because I saved myself for this. Are you serious? I it just felt like a slap in the face to me, And I mean, we're friends now, so
Right.
it's nothing bitter there. But for me, when I was talking to this gentleman, and this is just me being honest, because some people will not talk like this, especially
Right.
church people.
Yeah.
So I didn't have sex with this gentleman, but we did kiss. And he said I was a good kisser. So I'm like, oh, well, that goes against what I've been told for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
And so, I was trying to fill that void, and trying to feel like I was worthy. But that really just goes back to childhood wounds. And I feel like,
Yeah.
God took me through the process of dealing with a lot of childhood things in
Yeah.
my healing process, to where it made sense to why I rushed my marriage, and me trying to find that father like traits in my husband, trying to get validated by him, trying to get validated by people. So a lot of it was validation and self-worth. And then when it didn't happen in my marriage, I had to deal with that outside of it in my separation and the divorce. But yeah, definitely that grief. I had a lot of grief. I cried. In my marriage, I went a while without being able to cry because I was so numb. I remember people at my church would say, "You look like you are numb. You have no feelings. When you tell me the things that you went through, you're just numb, and you should be able to feel something."
Yeah.
And when I came back home to Georgia, because I moved to Chicago, I left everything in Georgia. I moved back home to my family. I told my dad, he's in prison, but I talked to him on the phone what happened. And my dad, one thing he said, "It's okay, baby. You're going to make it through. I love you." That right there, I finally cried, because those were words that I was wanting to hear for so long. The
Yeah.
"I love you" from my husband was what I really was looking for from my father.
Yeah.
And God had to deal with that. Not saying that that's everyone's story, because
Yeah.
everyone's divorce is different. But for me,
Right.
that was mine. And I finally was able to cry. I'm now a big crybaby, and I'm glad that I can cry. I'm glad I can smile because I never thought I'd smile again. So that's some of the things that I went through in my process. Because I don't want to talk too much. I'm sure you have some
No,
content
no,
here.
this is really good, and I think
Yeah,
this is really good. And I
yeah,
think it's going to help some people because I know divorce. Not only is it hard on people, period,
yeah,
believer or unbeliever, we don't really address it in the church. We just kind
yeah.
of, ostracize people, or will hold on to one person and then shoo the other one away. People feel like
Yes.
they have to pick sides, and
Yes. And
yeah.
let's talk about that, please,
Yeah, you
because
probably lose a
listen,
lot of relationships that
let
way.
me tell you, I'm okay. Now I told you I moved from Georgia. That's where I was born and raised, and I moved to Chicago. I
Mhm.
didn't have any family there except for his family. Okay, so when we went to this church I was going to, I got close to a few people, not many. He had more so connections because he was in the worship department or whatever.
Mhm.
When I finally left, because I left because of what was happening with my mental health, but also because of the communication, that he loved me but he wasn't in love with me, which was hard in itself, another part of rejection. And I just chose to move forward, and not to mention we are co-parenting from two different states, so that's a whole nother topic there. But the people in the church, they just started making rumors about me,
Mhm.
and I'm like, y'all don't even know why I'm leaving. Some people just thought I just left. Some people just thought I left him because I had another boyfriend in another state, which was the complete opposite. And I was very faithful to my husband,
All right.
very. So, I mean, besides the separation and the kiss, but like I was very dedicated. I loved him more than anything. I literally dedicated my life to this man and left everything, gave up my career, gave up my apartment, gave up my car, literally everything. I was well off by myself.
Wow.
And to give it all up and then, have the church people create these rumors about me because, I didn't have a high position, because they didn't get to know me, because I wasn't on the worship team. It really hurt me. And I tell you, I was literally in a place where I didn't want to deal with church for a while,
Yeah.
which got me to the place of making those decisions and wanted to walk away from God. But I'm very glad that God brought me back.
Yeah. I'm glad you shared that, even wanting to walk away from God, because I think for some people it is that painful, and it may not even be so much, your experience, like, church people making up rumors and stuff, but sometimes it's just so painful that people kind of walk away from God. They don't even realize they begin to reject him because of their pain.
Come
And so,
on.
yeah. And so, but I want you to speak to the co-parenting piece. I think that's
Yeah.
a big piece.
Yeah.
Um we don't want the bitter baby mama to be
Absolutely.
a, an epidemic in the church. We
Yeah.
don't want to treat children like a pawn on a
In a
chess
game.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to play the, you can't see your kids and all that because
Right.
you're mad, or it's okay until he gets in a relationship with someone else, or it's okay until you get in a relationship with someone else. How can you I need you to, because I think this is the area where a lot of people know how to move on, but they move
Yeah.
on bitter.
Yes. That's
Move on
the
healed. They just move on bitter. They just keep
bitter.
it moving. And then now this guy, you're gonna torture him the rest of his life because y'all had a child, and you mad because the relationship didn't last. What can you say to those that are struggling in the area of co-parenting? Maybe angry with
Yeah.
the ex. I don't even want to look at a person.
Yeah.
And then, we even have to address some
Yeah.
people hitting their kids because of the ex. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, um, I remember when I was leaving, when I made the decision to talk to him about me going back to Georgia, we communicated right then and there, that I would not be the bitter baby mama. Okay, because we have a common love here, which is our daughter. We didn't work out,
Right.
but we still have a daughter that we have to raise together. And what really had to click for me is we're in each other's lives for the rest of our life because our daughter is here.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to make this good. And it really takes for you to die to yourself and let me go a little bit simpler on saying that. You have to put your feelings aside, your personal feelings aside, to raise your child, because your child will end up bitter towards whatever parent is, is the bitter one. Well, the one that isn't doing all the nasty stuff. They're going to be bitter towards that parent. And so for me, because my daughter's mostly with me, I make sure I don't say anything negative about her father to her or around her. Okay. And that's just period. So whenever, like, people may want to talk about, my ex-husband, I just shut things down. And you really have to be sure what words you're saying, the conversations that you're having about your ex. And when you are careful, you're not sowing those seeds of bitterness within yourself. So if you're watching your words, because what's about saying that our words can, have, our tongue has the power of life and death. Okay, so let's speak life about the other person. Put our feelings aside so we can raise this child the right way. So that's what we do. We communicate. We make sure that our daughter doesn't try to divide us, even because we are in two different houses, and children can be manipulative even at a young age. They can see what's going on. So we communicate, we have goals, and we put our feelings aside. I remember when I thought he was seeing somebody else, like right after the divorce happened. Well, actually a little bit before the divorce happened. I was like, my daughter's telling me about this other person, and I'm like, okay, like, I could have gotten my feelings and could have, said something, but my thing was, okay, let's talk about this, because this is going to be a reality. And I'm very grateful that we have like a mature aspect. Not everybody has that. So I do encourage people to take classes on divorce and co-parenting, because we did take a co-parenting class. So we would just communicate like, hey, I feel this way. My daughter brought this to me. I don't feel comfortable. If you do have someone right now, I don't feel comfortable because I haven't met this person. And I don't know if this person can harm our child. And just communicating those things that you might fear. So that can be a way to make the co-parenting a little bit easier, which is communicating and just being honest and not blaming the other person. Because if you make them a target, then they're going to feel like they have to defend themselves. And then that's a whole argument right there.
That's good. That's good. I definitely thank you for sharing that. I'm hoping, that may help someone to maybe get a new perspective and realize, you know what, I got to stop being bitter. I have to put my feelings to the side and realize I have to do what's best for the child and not what's best for my anger and hurt ego and hurt feelings. But I want to move past that, and I want to talk about I want to talk a few minutes about it just escaped my mind. Really life after divorce. Really how when you really knew you were healed and just really getting that joy and that zeal back for life.
Yeah.
But I think there's a point where it's like, the marriage, you realize it's not working. Then, you're going through the divorce. And I think that's like probably the hardest part for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then eventually you've got to move, you need to heal and move forward and start living again. So let's kind of speak to that. Because I think some people never, I've seen women, I'm like, okay, Leroy has been gone 45 years. Leroy is not coming back. I need you to put the cigarette down, get off the couch and go live. Some people never get past it. I've seen people get divorced and never bounce back, never get married again, really never date again. For some people, they just can't get past it. And so, and I also want to throw this in here, and that, every marriage doesn't work out. It happens. That's life. However, I do see where I don't think we should be celebrating divorce, like having divorce parties. I'm not coming to a divorce party. Listen, if you're glad to be single, that's fine, but I'm not coming to a party with you burning up marriage license and marriage photos. I just had to throw that in there. But let's talk about life after marriage, and let's talk about really seriously getting that zeal back, getting that joy back, and really learning how to live single again.
Yeah.
Because you have to reinvent your whole life. You have to go back to, okay, my goals, my finances.
Yes.
My, not to sound selfish, but, you have to kind of, hone in and focus on you, but you as a mother, you and your child, obviously the baby is included. But let's talk about life after the divorce and really getting the swing back in life.
Yeah. So For me, it's still fresh. However, the zeal and the joy came back last year. So it took a while. It was a whole year, almost 2 years of the process of a divorce because we were in two different states and COVID. It just delayed everything. But I can definitely say that counseling really helped.
Yeah.
Therapy. A lot of people don't like to talk about that, especially in our community. They don't want people in their business, and it doesn't make you crazy because I was listening to one of I was listening to one of your videos, and you were saying that mental health, like you said something about mental health, like just because like you're going to a doctor doesn't mean that you're like gonna die or anything like that, or just because you go see a counselor, it doesn't mean that you're crazy. That's not what that is. But sometimes you need someone that can give you language for how you're feeling, give you understanding of patterns, and get to the root of some issues. Let's go deep. Let's go to the soul. Divorce it's layers. It's not just like an overnight thing. You don't just get over all those feelings, especially if you put years in. You don't just get over that overnight. And so if you can have a therapist or a counselor really guide you through steps through the process, that can make it so much easier. Because some people, they'll just say, oh, just pray about it. No, it's not that simple. Especially if you've never gone through divorce and you're just telling me to just pray. You don't know the pain of this. This literally feels like a death. There's a piece of me that's dying. I had this identity, this ideal of how my life would be, that I'll spend my life with somebody forever, and boom, it's shut down. So now I have to rediscover me and go through all those feelings and memories. Now I feel like, I remember I had this prayer. Now this sounds extreme. I remember when I first went through the process, I was like, Lord, just erase my memory from the past 4 years. I just can't. I asked him to erase it because it was so devastating and I didn't want to deal with the trauma. But we have to deal with the trauma. We can't just be numb to it. And I think that's why people get stuck there, because they're stuck in memories. That's how I see it. Like visually, that's how I see it. They're drowning in memories, and they get stuck. They get frozen in time because trauma gets you stuck in a time period. It gets you stuck in a place. And so people are really dealing with trauma and they haven't really dealt with it. They don't have the language. They feel regret. They have all of these feelings of bitterness, rejection, all of that. So they stay stuck there. So for me, I had to get counseling. I also had to change my language. I had to stop rehearsing those memories. I had to stop saying that I wasn't good enough and that I didn't want to get married again, because you can speak those things. Come on, you can speak those things. Then you create that atmosphere. You create that future. You're prophesying to your future. Come on, you're putting word curses on yourself. So then you don't really bounce back. You stay stuck because now your tongue has created something to where you're stuck in a place. You're literally creating an atmosphere of failure. When you speak this stuff, you stay stuck because of your words. So I had to break those word curses. Come on. Because I definitely spoke some things. I was like, I don't want to have no more kids. I don't want to get married. I'm over men. I remember that. I mean, so I had to change my language. I had to get counseling. Then I had to love myself again. Now that right there, because I dealt with self-hatred for so long, that was a process. And I remember one day I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna choose to love me. I'm not gonna have this image of who I want to be and love that person and hate who I am today. But no, I had to love who I am today. And say, you know what, girl? Yeah, you a little curvy, but you cute. You cute. And actually be okay with where you at. Yeah, you're not a size 5 or 4, 3, 2, 1. But you doing good. Like, girl, you get your smile back. Like, I had to learn how to laugh again, surround myself with people that are positive, get the naysayers out my ears. And that's what it was. It was multiple things. It's not just one answer. It's literally creating a new life around you, a life that number one lines up with what God says. But of course I had to give my life back to God, because I definitely walked away and I was done with him. I gave my life back to him, but when I gave my life back to him, that's when everything started coming together, because I thought if I reinvented myself, that would make me whole. No, that's feeding your ego. That's not making you whole by changing your outer appearance.
Yeah.
But the work starts within. So
Yeah.
when God started working within, then everything around me started to change. And then that's when the real healing started taking place.
That is really, really good. And I see we only have a couple minutes left, but you really unpacked a lot. The regret, reinventing yourself, trying to, kind of do it on your own without God. And even the piece about counseling. I definitely recommend that anybody, if you're on the verge of divorce, if you're going through a divorce, if you're recently divorced, or even if you still have not got over a divorce that may have happened years ago, I highly recommend that you take the time and go and get that professional mental health counseling, because it can also not just help you heal from that failed marriage, but it can also help you heal from other things that you didn't know that you need to be healed from, so that when you do get into another relationship, you will be the best version of you. I always say when it comes to mental health, you cannot do anything at your best if you're not your best. That's marriage, that's parenting, that's working, that's business, that's ministry. You have to be at your best if you want to be able to give your best in every capacity. So I recommend the counseling because, like she was saying, for some people that divorce is very traumatic. But just think if somebody was already traumatized from childhood. Boom. So there's more trauma. And so we have to recognize this stuff and realize the importance of getting that professional counseling. But we have to go. I don't know. We may have to do a part 2 because this was really, really good. Yeah. But Veonne, please take a moment and let people know how they can reach you, how they can connect with you before we get off here today.
Yes, if you visit my website, VeonneAnderson.com, you can stay in contact with me. Also, I have products. If you want to learn a little bit more about my journey of divorce, I have a book called The Qualified Life that I actually wrote during my divorce process. Visit my website, VeonneAnderson.com. I can definitely coach you through writing or writing through your trauma so God can heal you. So visit my site.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you to everybody that has been listening. And for those that are tuned in, please make sure you go to www.themergeconference.com to keep up with updates and news about the Merge Conference that is coming April 23rd and 24th, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Love you guys.